A new investigation reveals how Facebook dissolved a so-called political moderation task force in the weeks leading up to the January 6th attack on the Capitol. The previously unreported task force was created in an effort to police the growing number of increasingly toxic political groups on the social media platform. Reports credit the task force with removing hundreds of groups from Facebook for posting violent or hateful content ahead of the election. However, the investigation reveals Facebook dissolved the task force shortly after the election. According to ProPublica and the Washington Post's findings, the move resulted in Facebook hosting a, quote, surge of misinformation and insurrection threats in months leading up to January 6th attacks on the nation's capital. Craig Silverman is a national reporter covering voting platforms, disinformation, and online manipulation for ProPublica and a co-author of that article. He joins us now with more on this. Craig, welcome. Thanks very much for being with us. So what did your investigation uncover about the scale of misinformation posted on Facebook between the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection?
The scale, as it often is on Facebook, was really quite massive. We looked at just a sample of about 23,000 public political Facebook groups and a total of about 18 million posts in them. And we found that there was at least 10,000 posts a day questioning the results of the election, spreading false claims about that, and often in many cases, including death threats or other kinds of violent content. And so what we see is that as Facebook, as you described in the opening, relaxed its oversight of public political groups on the platform and took this task force away from its work, the amount of claims, the amount of misinformation and threats of insurrection just started to really skyrocket. And average people were exposed to a lot of misinformation, a lot of false claims, and often were wrapped up in violent threats.
Well, has Facebook admitted to any responsibility for the events which unfolded on January 6th?
Their response to us was that really the responsibility for the violence of January 6th lies with Donald Trump. And certainly that's fair to point him as a major person responsible for it. But they didn't acknowledge that this task force was removed. They say that they didn't relax their oversight, and they point to other platforms and elsewhere as saying, there was worse stuff in other places. And certainly, many social media platforms, whether big ones like Facebook or small ones like Parler, were home to death threats, were home to misinformation. But Facebook, being as big and as widely used as it is, was, of course, a place where there was a huge amount of this content. And frankly, a lot of people probably not only being exposed to it, but potentially being radicalized by it as well.
Well, House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy warned tech companies that if they complied with congressional requests to turn over information related to January 6th, Republicans would not forget that should they win a majority in the upcoming midterms. Has Facebook turned over any such data?
Facebook won't really say a lot of specifics about it. The committee did make a request to Facebook and other platforms back in August, gave them about 2 weeks to comply by handing over the information. And all we know from the committee and from Facebook is that Facebook has handed over some information. We don't know how much, but the committee told us that it is still waiting for full disclosure from Facebook, and the negotiations between the two parties continue.
Well, your investigation uncovered the creation of a Facebook task force to police hateful political content ahead of the 2020 election, yet it was dissolved shortly after the election. What did you learn about the work that they did?
So this was a task force that was created and led by people on what's called the integrity team at Facebook, specifically the civic integrity team, which is kind of an elite unit that was focused on protecting democracy on the platform, not just in the US, but around the world, where Facebook has obviously many, many users. And so in early September, they came together and they brought in people from other teams at Facebook to analyze groups, to monitor them, and to see where the rules were being broken. And the result of their work was that they removed about 400 Facebook groups ahead of Election Day, something they considered to be a big success and a way of avoiding a lot of radicalization and misinformation spreading. But within a few weeks of the vote happening, that task force and the overall civic integrity team were both disbanded, and Facebook also rolled back some of the protections it had put in place immediately around Election Day focused on Facebook groups.
Well, you mentioned earlier the fact that there were some 10,000 posts a day attacking the legitimacy of Joe Biden's victory. But is there any way to quantify the role Facebook or any other social media platform played in the assault on the Capitol?
It's really difficult to draw direct causality between this kind of content being on Facebook and, what happened at the Capitol that day. But what we do know is that extremist groups like the Proud Boys, like the Oath Keepers, who were all present at the Capitol that day, used Facebook heavily in the lead up to January 6th and then the lead up to the election. And we know that people who have been charged for participating in the attack on the Capitol were active on Facebook in some cases. And so it's tough to know exactly how much Facebook had an effect. But given how big Facebook is, and given how it can be a force for radicalization, and the fact that some of these extremist groups did use Facebook, and specifically Facebook groups, for a long time to recruit and radicalize people, you can't point away from them and say there was nothing there. But I think we need them to disclose more data and to cooperate with the committee and others in order to have us get a really accurate picture of what did and didn't happen on Facebook and as a result of Facebook.
And the committee's work continues. Craig Silverman. Craig, thank you very much for sharing your investigation and your reporting with us.
Thank you.